You don't need to be smarter, you don't need to be more talented, you don't even need to work harder to surpass 95% of people. All you need is the ability to endure suffering, to sit in uncertainty, in failure, in pain, with no reward for years. Because that ability is the strongest predictor of success, and it's surprisingly easy to train. This is day 1 of the psychology behind success. In the famous marshmallow experiment, kids who could resist eating 1 marshmallow immediately just to get 2 later went on to have better careers, health, and success decades after. And research keeps showing the same thing. Talent and IQ don't predict who succeeds. Your willingness to keep going when there's nothing to show for it does. The people we admire as a genius are usually just the ones who outlast everyone else in the desert of boredom, pain, and uncertainty. So, how do you build this ability? Start small. Delay gratification deliberately. Wait 10 minutes before checking your phone. Push 1 set further in the gym when you're tired. Each time you sit with discomfort, you're training your brain to stop panicking when rewards don't come. Then expand. Commit to long projects. Resist the urge to quit when it feels pointless. Embrace pain, uncertainty, and boredom on purpose because it's the prerequisite of success. Over time, your brain adapts, and when others collapse under frustration, you'll still be standing. That's why endurance, not talent, is the ultimate predictor of success. And if you want to build an unbreakable mind, check the link in my bio. You copy millionaires, athletes, and influencers, thinking if you do what they did, you'll get what they have. But that's a lie. Because you don't see the thousands who did the same and failed. You only see the survivors, and that's why most success advice is worthless. This is day 2 of the psychology behind success. It's called survivorship bias. Your brain loves shortcuts, so it studies the visible winners and ignores the invisible losers. In World War II, engineers wanted to reinforce the spots where returning planes had bullet holes. But statistician Abraham Wald realized the opposite was true. Those planes survived. The ones that didn't return were hit in different spots. Focusing only on survivors hides the real truth. Same in business. Copying Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or any success story ignores the millions who tried the same path and crashed. Success stories distort reality because you never see the full data. So how do you avoid this trap? Don't just study the winners, study the failures. Look at what killed most startups, what ruins most careers, what breaks most athletes. Don't worship what successful people did. Focus on what almost everyone else did wrong. That shift saves you from illusions and gives you the real roadmap to survive long enough to win. Success isn't about copying survivors. It's about avoiding the mistakes that killed the rest. And if you want to learn more, check the link in my bio. You've been lied to your whole life. Success is not about working the hardest. It's mostly about luck, being born in the right place, meeting the right person, and hitting the right timing. Hard work just decides if you can use the luck when it comes. This is day 3 of the psychology behind success. Psychologists call this the just world bias. We want to believe life is fair, so we convince ourselves that millionaires deserve their success because they worked harder. But the data says otherwise. Most people work hard. Most people grind. The difference is opportunity. Bill Gates himself admitted if he hadn't gone to one of the few schools in the world with a computer, there would be no Microsoft. Success stories hide the countless equally hardworking people who never got the lucky break. Hard work matters, but it's not the engine, it's the amplifier. So what do you do with this? Stop worshiping grind culture and start engineering luck. Put yourself in more rooms, meet more people, take more shots. Success is probability. Expose yourself to as many chances as possible. Then work hard enough so that when the one opportunity comes, you can actually seize it. Success isn't about endless grind. It's about stacking the odds until luck has no choice but to find you. And if you want to learn how to force this luck, check out the link in my bio. You think success comes from willpower, pushing harder, forcing yourself every day. That's why you keep failing. Because you're human. Willpower burns out, feelings fade. You will wake up one day and just can't anymore. That's why success only comes if you switch from relying on willpower to establishing the right systems. This is day 4 of the psychology behind success. Willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. Psychologists call this ego depletion. That's why feeling motivated is so unreliable. But systems and habits bypass willpower. Once a behavior is automatic, it doesn't need energy or emotion, it just runs. That's why the most successful people aren't the most motivated, they're the most disciplined. They build systems that make success inevitable, even when they don't feel like it. So how do you use this? Stop asking, how do I stay motivated? And start asking, how do I make this automatic? Anchor new habits to existing ones. After brushing your teeth, do 10 push-ups. Remove friction. Make the good choice the easy one, the bad choice the hard one. Success isn't about hyping yourself up every day. It's about building a system so simple you can't fail. Because systems don't care how you feel, and that's why they are your greatest ally to achieve anything. And if you want to learn how to establish these systems, check out the link in my bio. Things in your life finally start working out. Your muscles are growing, money is coming in, people start giving you compliments, and instead of pride, all you feel is like you don't deserve it, like you just got lucky. Any moment now, they'll find out you're not good enough. That feeling isn't failure. It's the best proof you can get. This is day 5 of the psychology behind success. Psychologists call this imposter syndrome. It happens because you compare your own doubts and flaws to everyone else's polished surface. You underestimate yourself and overestimate them. But here's the paradox. Imposter feelings show up exactly when you're leveling up. When you've stepped into challenges your old self wasn't ready for yet. The people who never feel like imposters, they're usually the ones who never left their comfort zone. So how do you use it? First, reframe it. That discomfort is not proof you don't belong, it's proof you're moving up. Second, ground yourself in facts. Write down wins, skills, and results. Your brain can argue, but data can't. And third, don't wait until the feeling disappears, act anyway. Every time you succeed despite the doubt, your brain learns you do belong. Imposter feelings aren't a stop sign, they're the clearest signal you're on the right path. And if you want to build an unbreakable mind, check out the link in my bio. You always pass up opportunities, leave your videos unpublished, and stay silent in meetings out of fear of judgment. You convince yourself that everyone is watching, when in reality, no one is. People are far too busy worrying about themselves, and that's why you're holding yourself back for absolutely nothing. This is day 6 of the psychology behind success. It's called the spotlight effect. We think a spotlight is constantly on us, that every mistake, every awkward move is noticed and remembered by everyone around us, but research shows the opposite. People drastically overestimate how much others pay attention to them. Most are too locked in their own worries to track yours. What feels like humiliation to you is forgotten by others in seconds. The brain magnifies self-awareness but projects it outward, making you think the world is harsher than it really is. So use it. Realize the fear of judgment is an illusion. Start small, say the idea in the meeting, post the video, take the shot. Even if you mess up, most people won't even notice, and the few who do will forget tomorrow, because they need to worry about their own lives. Success requires visibility, and the spotlight you think is blinding you is not real. Once you drop that fear, you're free to act. And that's when people finally start to actually notice you for the right reason. And if you want to build an unbreakable mind, check out the link in my bio. You finally get what you wanted, more money, the body you dreamed of, the recognition you worked for, and a week later, it feels normal. Empty, you don't care, and already start chasing the next thing. That's why success never feels like success to you. This is day 7 of the psychology behind success. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. Your brain adapts to pleasure and reward faster than you think. Evolution wired us this way. If we stayed satisfied, we'd stop pushing and the species wouldn't survive. That's why new cars, new salaries, new wins light you up for a moment, then fade into the background. You don't feel done, you feel restless again. Success doesn't stop the chase, it resets the bar. So how do you escape it? You can't stop adaptation, but you can hack it. First, practice gratitude. Forcing your brain to notice what it already has keeps the reward alive longer. Second, focus on progress, not prizes. Track the climb instead of the finish line. And third, chase meaning, not just milestones. Because purpose adapts slower than pleasure. The hedonic treadmill never stops, but if you run on the right track, it can push you higher instead of leaving you empty. And if you want to build an unbreakable mind, check out the link in my bio. You think being a good person makes you successful, but that's wrong. Psychology shows it's the opposite. The moment you do something good, your brain gives you a license to be lazy, cheat, or make worse decisions. This is day 8 of the psychology behind success. It's called moral licensing. Studies show that after people make a virtuous choice, like donating, eating a salad, or working hard, they're more likely to give themselves permission to do something bad or lazy right after. Your brain keeps a hidden moral scoreboard. One good act means you've earned the right to slip. That's why diets fail after one healthy meal, why people brag about small kindness while treating others badly, and why you work hard in the morning but crash into procrastination in the afternoon. So how do you use this? First, watch your self-talk. If you catch yourself saying, "I deserve this," after a win, you're probably licensing failure. Second, bundle behaviors. Don't treat good actions as a pass, make them the start of momentum. And third, flip the frame. Instead of labeling your actions as good, see them as neutral, like something you do every day anyways. This way you don't even create a moral scoreboard you could later equalize. Success doesn't come from single good moments. It comes from consistency, and moral licensing kills that. And if you want to build an unbreakable mind, check out the link in my bio. You didn't ask her out, you didn't start that business, you didn't speak when you had the chance, and you hate yourself for it. It's not because you're weak, it's a mechanism in your brain that values potential failure way more than potential gains. And to finally take those chances, you have to learn to switch that mechanism off. This is day 9 of the psychology behind success. It's called loss aversion. Evolution built it into your brain, avoiding mistakes once kept us alive, but in the modern world it backfires. You skip risks, avoid shots, and miss chances because the brain exaggerates the cost of failing while downplaying the reward of winning. That's why people would rather stay stuck than risk a single loss. But here's the paradox. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you even tried. The difference isn't talent, it's that they stopped letting their brain's bias dictate their actions. So how do you shut this mechanism down? First, reframe failure as data. Every attempt gives feedback, not judgment. Second, quantify the real cost. Ask yourself, what actually happens if I fail? Most of the time, it's embarrassment, not ruin. Third, practice controlled failure. Take small risks daily until your brain stops panicking. The more you expose yourself, the weaker the mechanism gets. Success isn't about being fearless, it's about training your brain to see failure for what it really is, the price of progress. And if you want to build an unbreakable mind, check out the link in my bio. You're not scared of failing, you're scared of winning. Because the second you succeed, everything changes. People expect more. Haters come for you, friends envy you, and deep down, you know success will expose you. That's why you sabotage yourself the moment things finally start working. This is day 10 of the psychology behind success. Psychologists call this self-handicapping. Your brain pulls the brakes right before a breakthrough. Why? Because failure is safe. You can blame bad luck, bad timing, anyone but yourself. But success? Success puts you in the spotlight. Now the pressure is on. Now you have something to lose. That pressure feels terrifying, so your brain invents ways to protect you. Procrastination, excuses, quitting when you're closest to winning. It's not laziness, it's fear of being exposed. Here's how you kill it. First, catch the sabotage. Notice when you suddenly lose motivation right after progress. That's fear, not fatigue. Second, reframe pressure. If people expect more from you, it means you've leveled up. Third, lean into wins instead of running from them. Take ownership, accept the spotlight, and let the weight make you stronger. Fear of failure keeps you cautious. Fear of success keeps you invisible. If you want to win, you can't run from the very thing you're chasing. And if you want to learn to destroy any fear, check out the link in my bio. The worst thing you can chase is happiness. Happiness makes you soft. It makes you wait until you feel ready. It makes you quit the second things get hard. If your actions depend on being happy, you'll never be great. The ones who win are the ones who keep going when they're tired, miserable, and broken, and they do it anyway. This is day 14 of the psychology behind success. Your brain was never built for constant happiness. Emotions are signals, not goals. They rise and fall depending on sleep, food, weather, and random thoughts. Tie your work to them, and you're a slave to chance. That's why most people stop. They wait to feel ready. They wait to be motivated. But success isn't built on waiting, it's built on detachment. You don't need to be motivated to hit the gym. You don't need to be happy to build your business. You don't need validation when your first 10 videos flop. You show up anyway. So stop asking how you feel and start asking what you want to build. Anchor your habits in systems, not moods. Decide once, execute daily. Train your brain to see action as default, not as a reward for being in the right mood. Happiness will show up on its own, as a side effect of progress. But chasing it directly, that's why most people stay stuck. Success is simple. Separate your actions from your emotions and keep moving no matter what. And if you want to learn how to do that, check out the link in my bio. If you think you need balance in your life, you've already killed your chance at greatness. Nobody at the top is balanced. They're obsessed. While you split your energy across hobbies, relationships, and comfort, they pour everything into one thing until the world can't ignore them. Balance feels safe, obsession makes history. This is day 11 of the psychology behind success. Psychology shows your brain runs on focus and reinforcement. When you divide attention across 10 things, progress is too slow to trigger motivation and you quit. But when every action feeds one mission, progress compounds, momentum builds, and your brain floods you with dopamine for staying on the course. That's why obsession creates mastery at a speed balance never can. Look at the top 1% in any field. Athletes, inventors, artists, none of them lived a balanced life. So how do you use this? Stop chasing balance and start becoming obsessed. Pick one thing that matters more than any comfort, then cut everything that steals energy from it. Build your entire routine around that mission, your time, your habits, even your environment, and accept the cost. You won't be balanced, you won't please everyone, but you'll move so fast and so far that the world has no choice but to notice. Balance makes you replaceable, obsession makes you legendary. And if you want to learn to build an unbreakable mind, check out the link in my bio. Follow your passion. That's the worst advice you've ever heard. Passion doesn't make you successful. Success makes you passionate. You don't love things because they're easy, you love them because you're good at them. This is day 12 of the psychology behind success. Psychology shows passion grows out of mastery. The more competent you become, the more meaning and motivation you feel. But if you chase passion first, you quit the moment it gets hard. That's why people bounce from job to job, hobby to hobby, always searching but never building. The truth is, passion is the brain's reward for progress. That's why your favorite game is the one you're best at, and why you give up on things that were actually fun but where you sucked. Passion isn't the fuel, it's the brain's prize for persistence. So how do you use this? Stop hunting for instant excitement. Pick something valuable where you already have talent or a head start, and commit long enough to push through the boring, frustrating early stages. Because when you're good, you win more often, and those wins give you energy to keep going. As your skill rises, your passion follows. The better you get, the more fun it becomes, and the more motivation you create to push higher. That's the feedback loop. Progress, passion, and more progress. Because the world doesn't pay you for your passion, what the world pays you for becomes your passion. And if you want to learn to build that mastery, check out the link in my bio. The biggest obstacle to your success isn't bad luck or lack of talent, it's your own friends and family. The moment you start to rise while they stay the same, you make them feel inferior, and they hate that so much that they will try to pull you down at all costs. This is day 13 of the psychology behind success. Fishermen never need to put a lid on a bucket of crabs, because the moment one tries to climb out, the others yank it back down. That's exactly what happens in some humans. The moment you stop doing what your friends are doing, changing your habits, building a business, chasing something bigger, you expose everyone else's excuses, and instead of being inspired, they resent you. Your ambition makes them feel small. To compensate, they laugh and discourage. But the most dangerous part? It works. Rejection by the tribe once meant death. That's why their pull feels so powerful. You're not just fighting their doubt. You're fighting your own biology screaming to stay in the bucket. If you still want to escape, you first need to recognize the pull. The jokes, the doubts, the little digs, those aren't harmless. They're the claws keeping you down. And then, you need to leave the bucket. If everyone surrounding you is trying to pull you down, you will never have a chance to escape. Even if it sounds hard, it's necessary. Find friends that see you rising as proof that it's possible, not proof they're failing. And if you want to learn how to finally escape that bucket, check out the link in my bio. The most dangerous lie you tell yourself, it's not that you're not smart enough, It's not that you're not talented enough. It's not that you're not lucky enough. It's this: I can't. But there is a way to change that, a way to force your brain to automatically solve any problem for you, and it's the simplest thing you'll ever do. This is day 15 of the psychology behind success. If you say to yourself, I can't, your brain gets one signal: stop working. Why waste time and energy if it's impossible anyway? And your brain loves that, because your brain is lazy. The less energy it spends, the better. And by saying this one sentence, you play right into that laziness. What you need to do instead is to force your brain to work, simply by swapping I can't with how can I. Because what your brain craves even more than saving energy is closure. After I can't, it has closure, so it shuts down. But how can I create what psychologists call an open loop? And your brain is wired to keep working until it can close that loop, and the only way to do it is with solutions. With this one sentence, your brain starts scanning, connecting dots, and generating answers. It becomes a search engine, and the truth is, for everything in life there are solutions. You just need to give your brain permission to find them. This tiny switch takes almost zero effort, but it has the power to change your life forever. And if you have enough of your old miserable life, check out the link in my bio and finally change it today. You either spend the whole day procrastinating and doing nothing, or you collapse completely under stress and get nothing done. Both problems feel different, but they come from the same place, and both have the same solution: the Yerkes-Dodson law. This is day 16 of the psychology behind success. According to this law, our stress level has a sweet spot where you perform at your absolute best. In that zone, your focus is sharp, your motivation is high, and you feel like you can handle anything. That's where growth happens, and where real success is built. But if you fall too low, you're tired, bored, distracted, and you procrastinate. Nothing feels urgent, so nothing gets done. To fix this, you simply need to raise the stress level slightly. Set a shorter deadline, make it public, increase the challenge or the workload. On the other hand, if you push too far, your stress level is way too high, you have racing thoughts, panic, make constant mistakes, and your brain freezes. The solution here is to decrease your stress level, slow your breathing, cut the task into smaller steps, block out distractions, and outsource everything you can. Stress is not your enemy. It becomes your enemy only when you have too much of it or too little. Because real growth, real success, and real focus happen only at the right level of stress. The worst success advice you can listen to is the social media morning routines. Ice baths, 45 minutes of meditation, an hour of yoga, mixing supplements, and then journaling for half the morning. All that crap looks productive, but it's not. It's nothing more than mental masturbation. It makes you feel like the greatest, while you've actually achieved nothing. This is day 17 of the psychology behind success. The problem is simple. These things cost you hours without giving you any real benefit. They feel good because they're easy, and they trick your brain into thinking you've accomplished something, but when you're finally done, half the day is gone, and you haven't even started the work that actually matters. Worst of all, because you feel productive, you give yourself permission to slow down, even though paradoxically, you've done nothing yet. And just as damaging as wasting time is the cognitive load. Your brain only has so much focus per day. The more useless tasks you stack in the morning, the less energy you have left for the things that really count. That's why the rule is simple. 20% of what you do creates 80% of your results. So focus only on those 20% and cut the rest. Or, if you really want to do those rituals, do them after your real work is done. Minimalism is king, so instead of jerking off to your influencer-style morning routine, try the one that actually brings success. Wake up and work. Everyone knows you need goals if you want to achieve anything, but almost nobody knows how to set them the right way. And that's why 99% of people never even stand a chance of reaching them. This is day 18 of the psychology behind success. What most people call goals are actually wishes. I want to lose weight. I want to make millions of dollars. That's not a goal, that's a daydream. A real goal has to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If you apply that, the wish, I want to lose weight, becomes, I will lose 10 kilos in 3 months. I want to make millions becomes, I will earn my first 100,000 in 12 months through my business. But even smart goals still focus on the outcome. And outcomes are never fully under your control. You can't control the exact number on the scale or how much money your market will give you. That's why you need to shift from outcome goals to process goals. Process goals are the actions you fully control. Instead of saying, lose 10 kilos in 3 months, you commit to work out 5 times a week and eat 1,800 calories per day. Instead of earn 100,000 in 12 months, you commit to make 5 new sales calls every single day. Your job is to identify the processes that drive the outcome. That's how you turn vague dreams into a clear, controllable plan. One you simply execute and adjust until the goal is reached. You're not made for success, and that's why you will never have it. People are different. Not everyone is built to chase big goals, to sacrifice, to push through pain, and that's okay. The real problem is pretending you want success when deep down you don't, and wasting your life in that lie. This is day 19 of the psychology behind success. Success doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. For some, it's money, building a business, being their own boss. For others, it's stability, family, or balance. But especially young men get blinded by social media. They see Lambos, Rolexes, women, and convince themselves that this is their version of success too, when in reality it's not. Because humans have three core drivers: achievement, power, and affiliation. Achievement means craving challenges, growth, and measurable progress. Power means influence, control, and responsibility. Affiliation means safety, stability, and belonging. To find out your main driver, look at what actually gives you energy. Do you light up when you're chasing challenges? That's achievement. Do you thrive when you're leading and taking responsibility? That's power. Do you feel best when you're safe, connected, and surrounded by people you trust? That's affiliation. And be brutally honest with yourself here. If your driver is affiliation, then forget the business hype. Focus on what really fulfills you: a stable career, family, and connection. That's what will give you energy. Become successful in people's eyes before you actually are. It sounds fake, but neuroscience shows why it works. Because there is a rule your brain always follows: what fires together, wires together. And that's exactly how your brain turns perception into reality. This is day 20 of the psychology behind success. Every thought and every behavior fires a network of neurons in your brain. When the same patterns fire repeatedly, the connections between them grow stronger. That's neuroplasticity. So when you act like the person you want to be, confident, disciplined, and successful, your brain literally rewires itself to make that behavior more natural. And once other people see you that way, your behavior shifts even more. They treat you like you're confident and capable, and you respond with more confidence. You dare to take steps you would normally avoid. You push into situations you used to fear. And every time you do, your brain strengthens the wiring until courage feels natural. The more you show up as that fake version, the closer you move to making it real. And remember, the rule is what fires together, wires together. So it naturally works in the other direction as well. Act and think like a loser, and you eventually become one. If you want to avoid that, check out the link in my bio. There is this key distinction in how your mind is programmed. Either you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. Here is the difference, and how to switch between them. This is day 21 of the psychology behind success. A fixed mindset means you believe your abilities are set in stone. You're either smart or you're not, talented or not, successful or not. A growth mindset is the opposite. You believe skills can be developed, intelligence can grow, and success is something you build through learning and effort. Most of us are raised with a fixed mindset. You fail once, and you start to believe you're a failure until it's deeply wired into your brain. Having a fixed mindset makes success nearly impossible. So here's how to switch in 4 simple steps. Let's talk about failure first. In a fixed mindset, failure proves you're not capable. In a growth mindset, failure is data. Every mistake is an experiment that teaches you what doesn't work. To switch, reframe how you see it. Next is effort. Fixed mindset says, if I have to try, I'm not good enough. Growth mindset says, effort is the price of growth. This is the way you should see effort from now on. Next is feedback. In a fixed mindset, criticism feels like an attack. In a growth mindset, it's raw data. And the most important step is exposure. Get into these situations and proof your growth mindset, even if you fail at it hundreds of times, because a real growth mindset just sees it as data to improve next time. It's effortless to sit on the couch, scroll for hours, envy others, or rage at strangers online, but it feels like hell to stay disciplined doing your work or be genuinely happy for someone else. That's not random. It's because inside you, 2 wolves are constantly fighting, a dark one and a light one. The question is just, who wins? This is day 22 of the psychology behind success. It's simple. The one you feed will win. Each wolf lives off the actions it represents. The dark wolf eats your laziness, your envy, your excuses, your emotional outbursts. The light wolf eats your discipline, your courage, your consistency, your ability to stay in control. If you keep feeding the dark wolf, it grows. At first it's small, one skipped workout, one night wasted. But soon the dark wolf takes over. Laziness becomes automatic. Envy becomes your default. You don't even resist, because the dark wolf is already winning the fight. But the same is true for the light wolf. Every time you act with discipline, stay calm, or do the hard thing you don't want to do, you're feeding it. And the more you feed it, the stronger it becomes. Until those values turn into your natural state. Discipline stops being effort and starts becoming who you are. So from now on, observe every action. Which wolf are you feeding with it? Because each moment of procrastination strengthens the dark wolf and makes it easier to repeat. Each act of discipline strengthens the light wolf and makes it easier to win again tomorrow. In the end, your life is nothing more than the wolf you decided to feed. You think your life would be better if you had more options, more women, more ways to make money, or more ways to lose fat, but the opposite is true. The more options you have, the more stuck you become. That's why you scroll Netflix for 30 minutes and end up watching nothing, why you open 10 tabs about business ideas and never launch a single one, and why you waste weeks comparing gym programs and never start actually training. This is day 23 of the psychology behind success. Psychologists call it choice overload. Your brain has limited capacity. Every extra option burns energy. The result is paralysis. And even when you finally decide which diet, which job, or which program, you're less satisfied, because part of your brain obsesses over what you didn't pick, and that regret makes you hesitate even more the next time. The fix is not more, but less. Pick one business idea and commit. Pick one training plan and follow it. Wear the same type of clothes, eat the same simple meals, schedule your mornings the same way. Free your brain from small decisions so it has power left for the big ones. Paradoxically, less options give you more freedom and save you from the pain of regret. Doing that in a world filled with limitless choices is hard, but the solution, because your problem isn't lack of opportunity, it's drowning in choices. Success doesn't come from keeping every door open, it comes from slamming most of them shut, so the right one is impossible to miss. Everything about you is stolen. You are not original, you are a copy. The way you talk, the way you dress, even the goals you set, all copied from the people around you, and even worse, from the people on social media. Your whole identity is fake, and you don't even realize it. This is day 24 of the psychology behind success. It's called social modeling. From the day you were born, your brain copied what it saw. How you walk, how you speak, what you believe, all imitation. René Girard called it mimetic desire. You don't want what you want because it's truly yours. You want it because someone else wanted it first. Look closely. The job you chase, the car you dream about, even the partner you think you desire, most of it comes from borrowed desires. That's why so many people end up empty. They were chasing someone else's life, not their own. To find out what you really want, you need to stress test your desires. Here's how. Take any goal you think you want and strip away the audience. No friends, no social media, no one to watch. Do you still want it? If yes, it's real. If not, it was never yours. Do this with everything: career, lifestyle, and your relationships. If the desire only feels strong when someone else is looking, it was never a real desire, so throw it away. If you still want it when no one is watching, it belongs to you, and only those goals are worth building your life around. That's how you stop being a copy and finally become yourself. After you understand this one thing about your brain, you will never be afraid again. And it only takes 6 days. Because behind every excuse you use, there's always a fear you're trying to cover up. This is day 25 of the psychology behind success. Most fears aren't real. They're not lions chasing you. They're rejection, embarrassment, or failure. But your brain reacts the same way, and you believe it's dangerous. But fear isn't permanent. The way to end it lies in neuroplasticity. Your brain has the ability to rewire itself based on the input it gets. Your input in the past was that fear is real, and fear means danger. That wiring became stronger every time you avoided what scared you, and now you're scared all the time. To change that, you need to deliberately activate neuroplasticity, and you start by writing down your fears. Be brutally honest with yourself here. Next to each fear, write what someone with 0 fear would do, a big action. Now, break that big action down into a ladder of smaller steps that lead up to it. Tomorrow, start with the smallest step. Each day, climb 1 rung higher. By day 6, you'll do the big action head-on. Each action proves the fear was useless. You acted, nothing bad happened, in most cases even something good happened. Now, the amygdala fires weaker, the prefrontal cortex takes over, and new pathways form. Neuroplasticity rewires your brain so the fear signals fade. That's how 6 days can start breaking fears you've carried for years. Your values are fake. Don't tell me you care about health if you eat like shit. Don't tell me you care about success if you waste hours on TikTok. Don't tell me you care about honesty if you lie to yourself every single day. If your actions don't prove it, it's not your value. It's just a lie you tell yourself to not face your insignificance. This is day 26 of the psychology behind success. It's called the value action gap. You think your values define you, but they don't. Your behavior does. The bigger the gap between what you claim and what you do, the weaker your identity becomes. Your brain tracks every contradiction, and each mismatch creates cognitive dissonance, and you feel like a fraud. You bury it under excuses, but your subconscious remembers, and over time, your brain stops believing your own words. That's why you can write down all the goals you want, repeat all the affirmations you want, but nothing sticks. Because deep down, your identity knows you're lying. To change, first expose yourself. Start by writing down your 3 core values, the ones you'd proudly tell the world. Then look at your last 7 days, your calendar, your bank account, or your screen time. Next, check for each value if your actions back it up. This is either proof that you actually do what you tell, or that your values are a lie. To change that, closely monitor every step you take. Only by doing so will you fully experience that cognitive dissonance and its discomfort, which you can use as a lever to move in the right direction. Your past is fake. Every memory you use to define yourself is a distortion. You think you know who you are because of what you've lived through, but half of it never even happened the way you remember. And that lie is the reason nothing you do will ever work. This is day 27 of the psychology behind success. Neuroscience shows memory isn't a recording, it's a reconstruction. Every time you recall an event, your brain rewrites it, exaggerating some parts, deleting others, twisting it to fit your current identity. That's why you and your friend can live through the same moment but later swear it happened in completely different ways. That also means the failures you obsess over, the humiliations that define you, the stories of "I'm not good enough," they're not facts, they're edited fiction you've rehearsed so often it feels real. And the more you replay it, the stronger the lie becomes. Your brain wires itself around a distorted past, and you live today as if those errors are truth. But if memory is just a story, you can choose the version that serves you. Pick the one that proves you're built for success. Write your past like evidence that you've always had resilience, always had drive, always found a way back. Once you start looking for that version, your brain will bring up the moments you could interpret in that way. It can even be the same event, but the perspective suddenly changes. Your past from being your biggest excuse to becoming your biggest fuel. You can't change what happened, but you can change the story. And the story is what your brain believes. Explain to me how a toilet works, or how a zipper actually functions. You can't, even though you're sure you know. Psychologists call it the illusion of explanatory depth, and the same principle applies to success. This is day 28 of the psychology behind success. When you see something often, your brain files it under known. You've seen zippers 1,000 times. Cars, businesses, fitness advice, even politics. So your brain tags them as familiar, and familiarity feels like knowledge. But the moment you have to explain step by step, the illusion breaks. You scroll content about business, watch gym tutorials, read a motivational book, and suddenly you believe you know how to succeed. But when it's time to act, you realize you can't put it into practice. And because you think you already understand, you stop digging deeper, you stop asking questions, you stay average and stuck in a fake sense of competence. Pick one area of your life you think you understand, like money, fitness, or discipline. Now try to explain it as if you had to teach a 10-year-old. How do you really make money? How does the money system work? Why does inflation happen and how can it be stopped? What is a muscle? How does it work? How does it grow? What does it need to grow? In which directions do the muscle fibers go? And what even are muscle fibers? If you can't break it down simply, you don't really understand what you're talking about. And that means putting your ego aside and going straight back to learning first in theory and then in practice until you can explain it so simply that even a 10-year-old would understand. Your life isn't bad enough. And that's the real problem. If your job was absolute hell, you'd quit. If your relationship was toxic, you'd leave. But because it's just okay, you stay stuck forever. Psychologists call this the region beta paradox, and it's the silent killer of your potential. This is day 29 of the Psychology Behind Success. When things are unbearable, your brain flips into survival mode and forces you to act. That's why someone in the worst job often finds a new one, and someone in the most broken relationship finally walks away. Pain pushes change, but when things are only mediocre, your brain adapts. And that's exactly what makes mediocrity so dangerous. It never feels urgent enough to fix. You tolerate it. Days turn into months, months into years, until one day you realize you've wasted a decade in a life that never made you proud, but was good enough to keep you passive. So how do you escape? First, identify the areas of your life that are just fine. Not terrible, not amazing, just tolerable. For each one, ask yourself, if this was 10 times worse, what action would I be forced to take? If your job was unbearable, maybe you'd start applying. If your body was breaking down, maybe you'd finally train. If your relationship was toxic, maybe you'd leave. Then take that action now before life forces it on you. Don't wait until the pain explodes. Create your own urgency. Empathy is killing you. Not fear, not laziness, empathy. You care too much what people feel, what people think, and what people want. And while you're busy carrying their pain, they're moving past you. This is day 30 of the Psychology Behind Success. Empathy feels noble. You tune into everyone's emotions, you feel their struggles. But your brain pays a price. Scientists call it empathic distress. When your nervous system mirrors someone else's pain so strongly, it burns your energy and clouds your judgment. That's why agreeable people make less money. That's why empathetic leaders burn out faster. And that's why you hesitate to make the hard calls. Your brain confuses their suffering with your own, and you end up protecting feelings instead of producing results. You don't need more empathy. You need more distance. Because real success requires clarity, not constant emotional noise. Start practicing selective empathy. Care about the mission more than the moment. Care about long-term impact more than short-term comfort. And care about your standards more than about people liking you. Every time you dilute yourself to not hurt someone else's feelings, you feed their comfort and starve your own potential. Stop apologizing for wanting to win. Stop drowning in other people's pain. Compassion is good, but unfiltered empathy is a trap. If you want to lead, to build, to rise, you need the strength to stop feeling everything and start doing what needs to be done.